Many years ago, there was a quarterback coming out of high school that wasn't supposed to be all too good, but he turned into a star. When he was being recruited, all the big-time schools actually wanted him to play safety in college, but he said, no, I want to be quarterback. Fast forward in time a little bit, he turned into one of the best quarterbacks in Penn State history. He finished his collegiate career with right at 10,000 passing yards and 77 touchdowns. I'm sure some of you have probably heard it too. There's also a song made about him that was going viral. Who am I talking about? Who am I referring to? I'm talking about no other than the man, the myth, the legend himself, Trace McSorley. He was an absolute stud, but it's been quite some time since he played college football at Penn State. And people are wondering, as you can see right here, what happened to bro? Take a look at this comment. The fall of Trace McSorley needs to be studied, and that got over 3,500 likes. What's really fascinating about his story, and it's what captivated me so much, if you're a college football fan, you know the name, Trace McSorley. But here's what you don't know. What happened to him after Penn State? There's many questions people have been asked about this guy even to this day. But however, it all circles back to the one. And I mean the one big question we're going to try to get to the bottom of in today's video. What really happened to Trace McSorley? Real quick, just want to drop by and say major shout out to Good Vibes Cam for recommending this video. Thank you. I hope you enjoy, man, and as always, if you guys have a recommendation, leave a comment down below, and who knows, we might make that video. I also want to address this comment. Matt, there's a huge respect for the fact that you haven't sold out and thrown ads in your content. This is from Moody. I really appreciate that comment. It kind of caught me off guard because I'm glad some of y'all have recognized that over the many years we've had this channel. If you've been watching the channel, you would know that I've never done a sponsorship, not once. And I saw some people saying stuff like this, and there's nothing wrong with it. Trying to put food on the table, selling out, LOL. My man Moody responded to those. If you want to read it, you can for yourself, but he had a great rebuttal. I'm not going to say I wouldn't do a sponsorship or something like that in the future, but here's what I will say. I take great pride in the community we built here. I could talk about this alone for 10 more minutes, but long story short, because I know you're not here for this, I don't just do stuff for money, and I'm glad y'all have noticed that. Money's nice, and it's important to have in this life. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, but having high morals and integrity, it goes a little bit farther, at least in my book. Did want to address that. I apologize for a long intro. I know a lot of y'all don't care, so let's get into it. We got good old Trace McSorley. And come on, man, you already know to get into a story, we got to throw it all the way back to where things started. As most of you know, your boy Matt likes to skim through these high school glory days because it's the same story, different player. They dominated. I know most of y'all know this, but let me tell some of the people out here that don't really think about this. Every single player on your favorite college football team was a star in high school. Anyways, I digress. He played for Briarwoods High School in Ashburn, Virginia. He started as a true freshman, which is a very prestigious honor in high school, and he led his team to 4 straight championships. He won 3 state championships and went to 4. That is a heck of a resume. He was an outstanding player on an outstanding team, so you're thinking, oh yeah, all the big-time schools were calling, but they weren't. Or my bad, I'm actually going to backtrack on that. They were calling, but not for him to play quarterback, for him to play safety. Trace McSorley even stated himself, and I saw this when I was watching some interviews and doing research getting ready for this video, that he liked playing safety, but he'd much rather play quarterback, so that's what he wound up doing. But it was funny because all these big-time schools were recruiting him, and when he told them, hey, I'm only going to play quarterback, that's when they backed off and said, yep, if you're not going to play safety, we're not going to recruit you anymore. There was 3 main schools that was recruiting him to play quarterback. Wake Forest, Boston College, and Vanderbilt. You're probably sitting there wondering, Matt, you missed one, buddy. What about Penn State? And no, I didn't miss one. Penn State was not recruiting him to play quarterback. If you're confused by that, don't worry. It's all about to make sense. James Franklin, the current head coach of Penn State, and the one that coached him when he was there, he was at Vanderbilt. Yeah, so you're starting to put 2 and 2 together. I don't even got to explain it. As we know, James Franklin, after doing really good at Vanderbilt, he would go to Penn State, and Trace McSorley would follow. And getting McSorley was a pretty big deal because I'm going to remind some of y'all, that's when all these sanctions were going on. So it wasn't easy to get top-tier recruits at Penn State at the time. Oh yeah, by the way, I almost forgot to tell y'all, he was regarded as a 3-star recruit. He arrives on the campus and he doesn't wind up winning the starting job until 2016. That's when he beat out Tommy Stevens. Despite McSorley being relatively young and having no experience whatsoever, Penn State had a heck of a season, and that's the year they beat Ohio State. Unless I'm highly mistaken, that is the last time they've beat them, I believe. After upsetting a top 5 Ohio State team at the time, Penn State, they continued to excel that year. Destroyed Purdue, destroyed Iowa, beat Indiana, smashed Rutgers, smashed Michigan State, beat Wisconsin. Next thing you know, you look up, they're 11-2. You look up, Penn State in McSorley's first every year starting, is in the Rose Bowl. Also got to throw in there and mention it did kind of help that they had a young man on that team that went by the name of Saquon Barkley. Yeah, he definitely was a good counterpart to have in the backfield. USC did lose the Rose Bowl game to USC, but it wasn't because McSorley and the offense was struggling. They put up 49 points. And this is how good McSorley was that year. He was actually getting Heisman votes. Heading into a following season, there was a lot, and I mean a lot of heavy expectations on McSorley and Penn State. They had a really good year. Started out 7-0, but then they lost to Ohio State by 1 point. They followed up that detrimental loss by a 3-point loss to Michigan State. That 2017 Penn State team to me was probably one of the best ones in recent memory. If they could have beat Ohio State or even Michigan State, they're probably making the playoffs. Of course, we can't change it, so there's no need to talk about it too much, but they did win out from that point on. You look up, yet again, what happens? Penn State has another fantastic season under McSorley. They go 11-2. There was some conversations going on about McSorley potentially entering the NFL draft early, but he decided not to. He did announce that he would be returning for his final and senior season. I'm not going to hold you. It was not somewhat. No. I'm trying to sugarcoat it. There is no sugarcoating it. It was a letdown. For starters, they almost lost to, and this is a very respectable team, Appalachian State. The first game of the year, that went to overtime. Lost to Ohio State, deja vu by 1 point again, and lost to Michigan State back-to-back. Same thing they did in 2017, won a few games, and they got destroyed by Michigan 42-7. Finished regular season 9-3, not too bad, not too good, but then they lost to Kentucky 27-24 in the bowl game. I'm not going to say McSorley had a bad year in 2018, but it was severely underwhelming compared to what he did in 2017 and 2016. Let me show you the numbers. And I know you're probably wondering, Matt, why haven't you shown us the stats year by year like you normally do? Because I'm saving it so we can talk about it right now. Because I actually want to compare these, so we're going to talk about it for just a little bit, because I think it's important. His first year starting in 2016, decent numbers. Completion percentage wasn't too good, 58%, but he had 3,600 passing yards with 29 tutties to only 8 INTs. You'll take that. 2017, which was undeniably his best year. Completion percentage, look at this. Right at him, we're going to round up to 67%. That's remarkable, rounding up as well. 3,600 passing yards, 28 touchdowns, do 10 INTs. That's great. Took care of the ball, 28-10 touchdown-interception ratio. Not bad, you'll take it. But look what happened in 2018. His completion percentage went from 66 to 53. That's pathetic. I've made a lot of these documentary type of videos, and I have never seen a completion percentage drop that much. 13%? That's insane! Why'd that happen, though? Let's think about it. Think real hard. Don't hurt yourself. Don't do a Jimmy Neutron brain blast, but just think about what transpired. They did have a good running back that year in 2018 in Sanders, but it wasn't Saquon Barkley. Where I'm going at with this is teams could hone in and focus on, guess who? Trace McSorley. Whereas in previous years, like 2017, you couldn't just lock in on McSorley. You had to really lock in on Barkley as well. I believe McSorley's completion percentage dropping 13% says more about Saquon Barkley than it does McSorley. Just my opinion. Continuing along, not only was his completion percentage terrible, passing yards dropped only 2,500. Touchdowns, he only had 18. That dropped in 7 INTs. Not bad. Granted, he did have a lot of rushing yards that year. We got to give him some credit there. He almost had 800. Did have 12 rushing touchdowns, but he really, and I mean really, struggled to throw the ball. There's no question about it. That 2018 season did more harm than good for McSorley when it comes to his draft value. If he would have came out after that 2017 season, you're talking about a day 2 guy. I don't think he would have went day 1, but probably day 2, worst case scenario, early day 3. But after seeing what happened in 2018, that's when all the NFL scouts and GMs were, 2017, that was kind of fluky. He winds up declaring for the 2019 NFL draft because he had no choice, and there wasn't a lot to be excited about, if you want me to be honest. We're talking about a guy who's 6'1", 200 pounds, and he's not great at anything. He was a good runner, but he wasn't like Lamar Jackson. He wasn't a very accurate passer. As you saw, had a 53 completion percentage. Didn't throw a great deep ball. And I can continue to go on and break it down, but like I said, I don't want to repeat myself. He just wasn't great at anything. And that's not my opinion. That's the opinion of these scouts. They were actually asking him to get reps as a safety and defensive back. As good as he was at Penn State, take nothing away from him, although the last year hit some bumps in the road, they were still asking him when he was heading to the NFL draft, if he would play defense, safety, something like that. He even stated in one of the interviews I watched, they were trying to use him like a Taysom Hill, Swiss Army knife, do a little bit of everything. Do trick plays on special teams and also return punts. And it's not because they didn't think he wasn't worth the crap at quarterback, it was more so of, he's a natural athlete. The guy ran a 4.5 40-yard dash and had a 35-inch vertical. That's not exactly common. But despite all that, he stuck true to his roots. Same thing coming out of high school, he said, nope. Not playing defense, I'm a quarterback. I'm sticking to it. I respect that and admire it, but if you gotta ask me, I don't think it was a good decision. I wouldn't say he fell far in the draft, went right where most people thought he was gonna go. 197th overall pick, 6th round by the Baltimore Ravens. With the Ravens in 2019, I mean this respectfully, he did absolutely nothing. Fast forward time into 2020, he did appear in 2 games in which he went 3 for 10, but he's still a guy that's just fighting for reps in practice. And like you always see with these late round picks, he really didn't get a good shot, and he was waived in 2021. In the same year, 2021, the Arizona Cardinals did sign him to the practice squad, but nothing came out of that. Fast forward time a little bit to 2022, the Cardinals actually promoted him to the active roster, and he even started a game. He didn't play well in the game. He was 24 for 45, 1 interception, and that's also, ironically enough, right around that 53 completion percentage range. Right after that game, the Cardinals were like, yeah, this ain't working out. We need to get somebody else, and he was benched. The following season, 2023, the New England Patriots did sign him to a 1-year deal, but they released him a couple months after. The Chicago Bears then picked him up and signed him to the practice squad, but he was released the next month. In December 2023, the Steelers signed him to the practice squad, but released him only a month later in January. And most recently, in August of 2024, the Commanders signed him, but he was released only 13 days later. That's crazy. And as to when I'm speaking, it has just been announced officially that Trace McSorley is returning to Penn State as the assistant quarterbacks coach. I'd say this is the definition of a win-win. It's a great hire for Penn State, and it's a great job for Trace McSorley. But I think it is more safe to say his playing days are officially over. And I don't think you got to be a rocket scientist to put 2 and 2 together and come to an executive decision as to why it didn't work out in the NFL. McSorley, as much as I hate to say this because I think he's a great person, this is nothing against him, it's a football take, he just wasn't very good. If you're not a really good passer and a really accurate passer, the NFL is going to eat you alive. And that's what happened. He didn't really have a lot of room for error in the first place, and he got that one start, didn't perform so well, and that was the end-all be-all. But I am happy to see him return to Penn State. Wish him best of luck. I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts down below. But